today's cup of coffee. Yeah, we're getting a late start on it because I had an uncle that called that I hadn't talked to in quite a while, and so that was a blessing to me.
It was.
From Mysterious Universe, we have some tales that have been collected of bizarre encounters with creepy pale humanoids. And these are also called, in some places, pale crawling humanoids.
That ain't much of a different
No.
name for them.
And this is from Brent Swanser from January the 7th, 2019. And going to paraphrase as much as possible. Mr. Swanser is very prolific. He writes pages. And so I'm going to have to try to paraphrase.
I told her to paraphrase it.
I did paraphrase.
And I told her to edit it down and make a script, but
No,
she printed off, I don't know how many pages of the article. She's basically, I know for a fact you're just going to end up reading the whole thing.
No, I'm not. The thing is that I highlighted it, but I used the yellow highlighter, and since we've had to turn the porch light on, I can't half see it. So bear with me. Anyhow, these pale humanoid creatures, they seem to elude all attempts to categorize them. And they are reported to be gaunt, hunched over, and they're called specters. That's a word for something that you don't know what it is.
Sounds like a skinwalker or a rake.
Maybe. I don't know. It says there are countless reports coming from people from all walks of life, from all over. And the reason that I have edited this highly as far as which accounts I have chosen, he had lots. And I thought, no, I don't want to do lots. And where these came from, I'm a little dubious. And now I'm going to get your input. Let me read the first one, and then I want your input on this.
All right.
All right. It says, an anonymous Reddit poster says that he had a spooky encounter in 2006 in rural Arkansas. And he claims that this happened when he was 12 years old, and that he was living in a modest house on an acre of land out in a very rural area, which was surrounded by woods, and had an unpaved dirt road to get up to the dwelling. And said that somewhere on the property there had been an abandoned slaughterhouse, as well as the remains of a home that at some point had burned down in the past. And the witness describes the whole area as rather mystical and special, as well as odd in general. And it says,
if it's whatever the fuck,
mystical,
then it's going to be odd.
Yeah, usually. But anyhow, it says that his encounter happened one evening when he went out to lie down on the outside trampoline. On the outside trampoline. Does that mean there was an inside trampoline too? Somebody, it's like, yeah.
What the fuck?
Anyhow.
All trampolines are outside. What is your problem?
I don't know. It says.
It just say trampoline.
He had
outside at the trampoline.
Argument with his parents, so he was just laying there on the trampoline with full moon. Okay.
Well, that was his first mistake.
Absolutely. And so this
no full moon.
This is what this anonymous Reddit poster stated. He said, "So I'm lying on the trampoline, and other than the moon, there isn't any light aside from the porch light, which is always behind me. All of a sudden, I vaguely see something move. It's coming from the lot across the dirt road, and it's coming towards me. We had a Boston Terrier at the time, and at first I figured it was him.
You hit a Boston Terrier.
No. But as it got closer, I knew that was not what it was. It was sickly pale. It walked on all fours with its hands, but seemed to be able to walk upright. It kind of galloped towards me on all fours, and it was a little bit a ways at this point, but getting closer." Now, this is how this person has written this. It's not me.
It was a rake.
"The light bounced off its skin, and it seemed to almost look wet." So, yes, it did glisten.
Ew.
Slimy. Its gait and color is pretty clear to me, but I don't remember anything distinct about its face, except that it seemed to just be whitewashed to me. It happened so fast And then it was near me, still running, and then I couldn't see it. It's under the trampoline. He's written this in present tense. That's throwing me off a little bit, okay? And then he felt it push from up under the trampoline. He said he didn't bother to look back as he ran to the house. And he didn't remember his thought process at all past that point, but his mom had told him that he came in the house hollering and absolutely terrified. He thought about it constantly over the years, and as he has gotten older and he had seen similar stories about the same type of creature. He says, I used to describe it as looking like Gollum from The Lord of the Rings. I think of the creature kind of fondly in a way. It would never have occurred to me at the time, but it had almost a playful vibe to it. And it makes me sad to think that it was just some lonely but semi-intelligent creature.
That's it.
Maybe a grotesque experiment or some off-kilter evolutionary line. I don't think that's impossible. I guess I like to let my imagination run wild with it, though. I will always be curious about this and the place in general. Now, this was the man's...
My precious.
This was the author's, let's see, Swanser? Is that his name? Swanser. He said, it is hard to know how much stock to put into Reddit reports, but there sure are a lot along the same lines. Okay, now, you tell me about Reddit. Is it verifiable or is it not? Because I am not a Reddit user.
No. It's just people, some people are being genuine. You don't know if it's actually real or not half the time.
Well, that was what I was, because you never know if somebody is giving an accurate
You take
account
it with a grain of
or if it's just a shit poster.
You literally take it with a grain of salt. Some of them are genuinely, posting their encounters. Some of them just like to shit post and make creepy stories. You just got to take everything with a grain of salt.
Well, then how are you going to be able to determine what is real and what is not?
Sometimes you just gotta take their word on it. That's it. You don't know.
So, I mean...
That's like all he's telling is someone else's encounter. You don't know if they were telling the truth or not, or just making it up.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. As far as...
Without physical evidence or, tangible evidence, such as photos or video, you don't know if it's real.
That's the reason as far as going on Reddit and trying to collect any of these stories or something like that. Isn't that where the creepypastas come from?
No.
Where are they from?
No. They're from the Creepypasta Wiki. It literally is called the Creepypasta Wiki.
But isn't it the same thing of people just posting their stories?
Sometimes.
Would-be writers?
Yeah, most of the time the creepypasta stuff is literally, it's all fictional.
Right,
all
that's
fictional.
what I'm saying.
On r/whatever the fuck, some of them are actual encounters. I don't remember the exact Reddit
Okay,
thing.
so it is a subreddit thing.
Yes.
But like I said, because this is not something that I'm familiar with, I got an expert with the youngest kid because he is familiar with these things. Anyhow, a very similar report was posted on the National Cryptid Society and was given by a witness in the Midwest United States. The report again concerns pale humanoid things wandering about in the dark outside of windows in the middle of nowhere. Now, this witness says, when I was in the 6th grade, I looked out the living room window and saw a white reflection. My mom grabbed the flashlight and looked out the window, and she could see some white animal crawling around on the ground in the clearing by our house. It was approximately raccoon-sized, but white, and apparently able to get 3 foot up to the window. The next morning before sunrise, I was letting my dog outside. He ran out the garage door and began barking and growling, which was completely our character for him. I stepped around the door frame and saw an approximately 5 foot tall pale being with 2 huge glowing eyes and some form of round glowing item where a mouth or neck might be.
Yeah.
My 6th grade self screamed, turned, and ran back inside, leaving my mother and dog out to fend for themselves. By the time my mom figured out what happened and I calmed down enough to come back out, the thing was gone. To this day, I'm terrified of the woods surrounding their house at night. When I visit, I leave before sunset or have someone walk me to my car. It has been over 15 years.
He was traumatized.
I would also like to add that I don't believe in aliens or ghosts or anything, but I have
Early
no
onset
clue
PTSD.
what these things were. Well, it sounds like a little bit of PTSD. Yeah. Yeah. And there was another account from the website Phantoms and Monsters, and this supposedly happened at Big Bear Lake in California in 2017. And the witness claims she had just checked into a Best Western motel in the area just after midnight and was going to her car to get her luggage. And according to the witness, it was very dark and cold and snowy, and she just wanted to get her stuff and get out of the cold. And she writes, it had been snowing and was extremely dark. Her car was facing a country road. When she hit the unlock button on the car, the parking and interior lights came on, which allowed her to see two eyes reflecting in the middle of the road about 10 to 15 foot from her. At first, she thought it was a deer, but she instantly stopped and remained still because she didn't want to scare off what she thought was a deer. Then she noticed that it wasn't a deer. It looked white, hairless, like a naked man on all fours. Meth head.
Ew.
It was at least 4 feet in height on all fours. Now think of this. This thing's on all fours and still 4 foot tall.
Ew.
And she said it was probably around 15 foot tall if it stood up. There was a brief moment that their eyes made contact, and then as quickly as she had ever seen any animal, it turned around, ran as fast as a cheetah away from her, then straight up a tree. She said she was frozen in disbelief, and that just as she was going to convince herself that it couldn't possibly be happening, the thing leapt from treetop to treetop, and that she could see its full outline as it did so.
Ew.
She said the speed and strength it had was like nothing that she had ever believed possible. She said the creature was definitely solid, and it appeared as if it was coming towards her. She doesn't know what stopped it, and said it had very human-like qualities. Said that there were no visible genitalia, so it wasn't a meth head. Well, it could have been, but anyhow.
Yeah.
And she said that there shouldn't have been any way that the treetops should have been able to hold the weight of the creature. And it appeared that it was flashing like TV going in and out of reception as it sprinted up the tree. It also didn't appear to disrupt the foliage as it moved. So, yeah, that's kind of odd. And says one possible explanation is that these beings are some sort of interdimensional entities or trickster spirits. And this is an idea championed by esteemed paranormal researchers Jacques Vallée and John Keel. And Keel himself once said of the bizarre things that seem to defy any conventional classification, quote, one basic fact should be obvious from the foregoing. These entities and things are not necessarily from some other planet. They are actually closely tied to the human race, are a part of our immediate environment, and in some unfathomable fashion, and to a very large extent, are primarily concerned with misleading us, misinforming us, and playing games with us. Well, that sounds like a demonic something.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
But now there are quite a few, and like I said, that was just, 3 or 4? He had like 10 accounts, and I thought, no.
That sounds like a rape.
No.
That sounds like the rape to me.
Well, and maybe I need to go back and research as far as the rake. Does he go into the qualification of pale crawling humanoid?
Very much so.
Bless. Okay.
Like, yeah, like, it literally looks like a is that the right word? Emaciated, hairless humanoid.
Yeah.
Very lanky.
That is what most
very
of these...
pale.
And we have seen some of these...
Its eyes do glow.
We don't know whether they're actual photographs or whether they're artist renditions or whatever of this thing, but it's... Yeah, it looks like it belongs in a cave somewhere.
Yeah.
And I can see very much how it could appear like Gollum. I think that's a pretty good description from what what we've seen. You've got a spider buddy on your phone. Do you know that?
No, where? Ah!
That's always good. That was a pale crawling arachnid. Yes, if you want to show that. Yeah, that's one of the things that we're talking about. So, yeah, I could see Gollum looking like that, couldn't you?
Yeah.
One of the encounters that I had read that did come from, I can't remember, it's Monsters and whatever it is website that I had mentioned earlier, was the people down in New Orleans, that they had seen these things go up the side of a building. And with New Orleans having the mythology that it does, especially for vampires, one could wonder.
Right.
Because Nosferatu was closer to the actual vampire legend than all these, Bela brought in romance with the vampire. He truly did. But now, originally, if you go back, and we will do a cup of coffee at some point featuring vampires, because that's my genre.
Yeah, that is.
That is my genre. But actually, Nosferatu was closer to the original legends.
Right.
And why do these things feed on their own kin? That's where they would go. They would go to attack their family members. It wasn't just random strangers.
I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to feel alone.
I don't know. Of course, I guess that's how it is a lot of times. It's like kith and kin. It's like you get the bad stuff first. I don't know. But anyhow, let us know what you think about the pale, crawling humanoids.
Or the rake. I feel like that would be more on the line of rake.
Well, I will. He's studied this.
But the rake was also a creepypasta too. But that could have been based on something else.
Right. So we will have to try to get together and do a collaboration on this rake creature and how it could have been drawn from the pale crawling humanoids.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, if you have had experiences with pale, crawling humanoids and or meth heads, paranormal, supernatural, natural,
supernatural.
What can
not
I say?
The show.
It's long. No, not the show. If you've had experiences with UFOs, aliens, cryptids, I guess these things would possibly go in the category of cryptids.
Oh yeah, they would be in the cryptids.
Okay, because, anyhow, I guess cryptids, anything that somebody else doesn't know where to classify. If you've got local myths or legends, if you've got family myths or legends.
If you've got paranormal experiences of any kind from you or family.
I just said
or
that.
friends.
I just said that.
So, I can also say
We prefer personal encounters. We really do.
I don't discriminate on what they want to give us.
Well, as far as I like the personal encounters, that was the thing.
I mean, I like it too, but I'm not going to prefer it.
Well, as far as Art Bell, and that gave a voice to the people that wanted their stories to be heard.
I'll let whoever's story be heard.
Well, and that's that's one of the things that I would like to have for people to have the opportunity to share their experience, where it's not going to be made fun of,
or their family's experiences.
Exactly. And where it's
or friends.
All kinds of, when secrets keep us sick, they truly do. And these things do hide in darkness.
They do.
And when you bring these things to light, when you talk about them and stuff, it takes power away from them. It's poking holes in darkness is what it is.
Yeah.
So that's part of why we do what we do. And you can send us an email at cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com. And I think talking to Uncle took my talking away.
It
It was a long conversation.
was a good conversation.
It was a good conversation.
It's been many years since we spoke to him.
Well, I spoke to him a few months ago, but
oh, well, you didn't tell me about that.
well, you just weren't with me at the time.
And you
so-
didn't bother telling me.
I did tell you. You just
No, you
forgot.
didn't.
Anyhow, you all
How
have
dare.
a beautiful.
See what she
blessed-
does?
You all
How
have a
dare.
beautiful, blessed day. Keep your eyes and ears open. Bye.
How dare?